Public service announcement. No animals were harmed in the making of this speech, even though we had one really close call, didn't we? All right. Imagine this. You're driving down the mid-November highway here in Wisconsin. Your favorite song softly, or for some of us maybe not so softly, playing on the radio. Then it happens. Out of the corner of your eye, you see a large brown blur running into your lane. Do you hit the brakes? Do you try to swerve? Turns out it was too late. You become one of the many Wisconsinites to encounter a car-deer collision. According to carinsurance.com, 1 out of 77 people here in Wisconsin at some point will encounter a car-deer collision. That's a pretty great number, isn't it? Well, one means to help reduce that and decrease that number would be through proper deer population control. The population control method that we use in Wisconsin is the gun deer season, the gun deer hunt. Well, today let's discuss that a little bit deeper. Let's talk about some of the pros and cons of deer hunting and why it's so important, or why is it even necessary. I myself have been involved in a car-deer collision, one in which several $1,000s worth of damage to a vehicle occurred, one in which I actually had to watch a deer suffer for greater than a half an hour waiting to be dispatched by a police officer, one in which I wish could have been prevented or avoided. So I mentioned population control. Well, population control isn't necessary just for car-deer collisions, but there's other ramifications behind it. A population of deer here in Wisconsin that's too great. Actually, the Wisconsin DNR reports that currently an uncontrolled whitetail population would not be able to sustain itself based on natural resources. See, deer eat a lot. It turns out they eat a lot more than I thought. Matter of fact, according to NorthAmericanWhitetail.com, an average deer can eat up to 7 pounds of feed each and every day. Now that can be roughage, crops, your garden. They'll even eat the bark off of trees. But here's the thing. When food's not readily available, they come closer and closer to civilization. They start coming closer to roads. They start coming closer to houses, to generally heavily populated areas. According to John Ozaga's Whitetail Intrigue, an article entitled Scientific Insights for White-tailed Deer, actually up to 40% of a deer herd during a harsh winter can starve to death. Now, I don't believe that starvation is a great option to control population of deer, but I think something does need to be done. Let's discuss that. Each and every year, the DNR actually calculates the sustainable amount of land available for deer. What food is available, what habitat and shelter is available for them, and based on those numbers, they'll calculate what the requirement is for deer hunting. And some of the numbers they use actually have to do with the car-deer collision rates. 1 in 77 is a pretty great number. When you think about the cost behind it, according to StateFarm.com, average cost of a car-deer collision can be greater than $4,000. And those are 2017 numbers. But let's look at this from a different perspective. Is deer hunting truly the right and ethical means to control the herd in Wisconsin? Many view deer hunting as an activity that's unneeded, one that's become not a necessity but more so a sport. A recent study reported by PETA.org on a hunt that was captured in the UK reported on a herd of 88 radio-collared deer. Of those 88 deer, 22 of them were harvested or shot with traditional hunting means. Out of those 22, only 11 of the deer were actually found. So half of the deer shot were not immediately killed or immediately found to be harvested for food. In that same PETA.org article, 11% of deer killed by hunters died after being shot 2 or more times. So the study actually stated that the first shot didn't always kill the deer, but they actually had to be tracked down and shot again. So the argument of suffering and the time between the initial shot and the kill are brought into question. So whether a proponent of hunting or not, the topic of ethics is often brought up with a great deal of subjectivity, one in which I'm not sure I can completely answer today. But why do people hunt? Is it a need or is it a want? Well, deer hunting in Wisconsin goes back many years. It's a tradition that's really trace back to early childhood for me, hearing the stories of deer hunting, northern Wisconsin, deer shacks, going out with family and friends. I remember when I first came to Wisconsin, I actually had moved from Illinois. One of the first things I heard is, "Did you see the 30-pointer?" Well, that's a phrase made popular by the song The 30-Point Buck, performed by the Yoopers. Wisconsin lives and breathes deer hunting in the fall, or at least from my perspective, I believe that it does. Children are sometimes excused from school. Businesses often shut down. It becomes a community affair, with photographs and stories being told at all the local stores and restaurants. Some towns actually become scarce during the annual trip to deer camp. Even more so, some towns really benefit from the idea of deer hunting. There's an economic impact to deer hunting from the standpoint of supplies being purchased in the communities, hotels, even butchers that will process the meat once the deer has been harvested. In a recent Journal Sentinel article entitled "Deer Hunting Means Big Bucks for Wisconsin Businesses," it was reported that by the DNR that deer hunting brings over $1 billion to Wisconsin's economy. So that may be looked at as a reason to continue the deer hunting process or program. But let's discuss that a little further. You know, Wisconsin families also, some rely on the meat generated from a deer kill. A full-grown deer can actually provide up to 50 pounds of fresh meat to a family. Food pantries also benefit from the deer season here in Wisconsin. The Wisconsin DNR reports that since the deer donation program began in 2000 in Wisconsin, that hunters have donated over 90,000 deer, which were processed into over 3.6 million pounds of ground venison. That's ground venison that goes to families in need, families that don't have food on their table. Deer hunting continues to offer an economical and emotional lift to Wisconsin. Controlling Wisconsin deer population is viewed as a necessary task to maintain a healthy Wisconsin. However, that means that the debate over hunting will continue. Deer hunting has proven effective in controlling the population to this point, but beyond population control, is it really necessary? Are the social and economical impacts involved in deer hunting truly needed, truly required? So where will you stand? In a tree, peering down the sight at a trophy whitetail? Or next to your car, torn up by a deer that just ran in front of it? Or maybe in an adjacent field, enjoying whitetails as they frolic about? The choice is up to you. I hope the information provided today will help you make that decision. Thank you.